Good evening, my name is Randy Noble, and welcome to the Sunday evening broadcast of The Cross in the Desert. So glad that you joined me as I'm speaking hope and freedom to Iran. This past weekend at Family Christian Bookstore, I had an amazing outreach for the Iranian people. It was called Iran Awakening, where I featured my new publication, The Rose of Nowruz, Dreams of Hope and Freedom. And this is a book based on the experiences of my friends I talk with on Facebook. And it's a book dedicated to their hope and freedom. And I had an amazingly successful outreach talking to customers about the problems in Iran, the problems with the struggles they have with freedom, freedom of speech, freedom to believe, to wear what they choose. I was able to make aware to my customers the problems and the struggles of my friends. And I had a successful outreach also. I had the time to explain to my friends and customers about Netta Sultan. Netta Sultan, an amazing, courageous woman. In 2009, she went out on the streets of Tehran to protest the corrupt results of the presidential election. She was joined by thousands of protesters in the streets to stand up for freedom. And tragically, she was shot and murdered by a Basiji person on June 20th, 2009. I was able to show this excellent video of her life and what she stood for. Many of my customers were shocked and outraged that a young woman like Netta wasn't able to just go out in the streets and peacefully protest the results of a presidential election. And it's very hard for my customers. We live in this Western culture, and it's hard for us to understand that people that live in Iran don't have the freedom to think and to believe like we do. They don't have the freedom to go out in the streets and disagree with the government. So a lot of my customers were just shocked at this whole incident. It's an amazing story of courage. As you well know, Netta is nicknamed the Angel of Iran. Millions of people have rallied around her memory and are forging ahead to stand up for what is true, to stand up for freedom. And so Netta has lit a flame. She really is a light in the darkness of Iran. So it was my pleasure to show this video, A Death in Tehran, and to connect people with what Netta stood for. Also at the book signing I had for The Rose of Nowruz, I handed out many of my blogs. One of the things I handed out was a magazine publication, this little booklet called Iran 30. It's from Alam Ministries, and it's a day-by-day prayer guide for the nation of Iran. You can see here a little bit of the color pictures, if I can get it to the camera, of the color pictures of what's in this booklet. It is a daily prayer guide that every person can sit and take time to read about the situations in Iran and take time to pray for their freedom. There's about the underground church, about mullahs, women, the drug problem in Iran, the economic problem in Iran. You can go from day 1 to day 30 and pray for the Iranian people. So I was able to hand out this very important little booklet entitled Iran 30. Beside the video, the booklet, and of course the book signing, one of the most important things I handed out to my customers was a publication. It's a blog that I wrote called The Cross in the Desert. And I featured in this particular blog a day in the life of an Iranian woman in her own words. My dear friend in Iran that has helped me so much with writing about experiences there, her experiences have formed the basis of my book, The Rose of Nowruz. I asked my friend, would you please describe for me in a nutshell what daily life is like for an Iranian woman? And she did just that. She wrote a story, a short story in her own words, that was very powerful. I'll remember the day at work when I received the email of this story. I opened it up and read it, and I was in tears because my heart breaks that my friend has to engage in this every day, that she has to endure this every day. And yet she wrote it in her own words, and she described something I thought was very powerful that I wanted to share with my customers. So what I'm going to do in the remaining minutes of this broadcast this evening is read you this blog that I handed out to all of my customers at the book signing this past weekend. It's called A Day in the Life of an Iranian Woman, in her own words. I remember as a young teenager watching the movie The Diary of Anne Frank, I was fascinated and intrigued by the courage of this Jewish family, struggling to survive in the Nazi-occupied Netherlands. Eventually they had to go into hiding to avoid being rounded up and shipped away to the death camps. For nearly 2 years before they were finally caught, Anne faithfully recorded in her diary the trials, the fears, and the emotions of living crammed together in a tiny office space, struggling to survive and holding out hope that one day they would be free again. I have a precious friend who lives under similar circumstances in Tehran, Iran. Like Anne, she faithfully records the experiences of what it's like to live under the oppression and the fear of an Islamic government. Although my friend is not forced to go into hiding like the Frank family, yet like Anne, she longs for the day when she can walk the streets of Tehran without fear. The stories and experiences my friend shared with me greatly contributed to the writing of my new book, The Rose of Nowruz, Dreams of Hope and Freedom. Recently, I asked my friend to explain in her own words what it's like to live in Iran, so that I could share her story with my customers at my upcoming book signing. I remember opening her email at work and reading it. After I finished, I was almost speechless and in tears. What you're about to hear me read is exactly the way my friend wrote it. I'm not going to change any of the words or try to improve it. This is a brief description of the day in the life of an Iranian woman in her own words. Imagine a day when you wake up and dress as normal as you always do. You are fresh to start a day, but as you reach your university facility, your phone rings. It's the security guard. They have been watching you talk to your male classmates, so you were called to the discipline committee to prove that you aren't involved with that boy in violation of the Islamic rules. You never can prove that, and you get something like a note in your graduation certificate stating that you had an illegitimate relationship with your classmate. Another day, as you enter the facility, a woman wearing a chador stops you at the door and asks, "What's that makeup you're wearing?" Again, discipline committee. Day 3, your mobile rings. It's the discipline committee. "Miss, why have you got a Facebook account? Why aren't you wearing a hijab in your profile picture?" Again, discipline committee. "Have you got a boyfriend? Who are your friends? Do your friends have boyfriends? Do they have sex with their boyfriends? Do your friends stay at your boyfriend's houses?" Then they ask you to spy for them in the dorm and to report to them anything that happens there. If you say anything against Islam or any of the political figures, your parents won't see you anymore. You are graduated, now you're working. 8 a.m. You go out of the house, and when you reach downtown, the Gastier Shod, that is the morality police, they stop you. Again, the same question. They take you to a police station. You sit next to men who have been arrested in the street. They take a picture of you while you are holding a paper with your name on it, exactly like a criminal. They treat you like a prostitute, bombarding you with their words and accusations until you burst into tears. Then they call your home and ask your parents to bring a longer manito, that is an Islamic chador. Then you have to sign a commitment paper which says that if they see you on the street and they don't like your appearance, you will have to appear in court, and the vicious cycle continues for the rest of your life. They even stop your car to check your appearance. These are daily routines for Iranian girls here, and when you wish to be free by migrating somewhere else, the sanctions and poor economical situation won't allow you to pay the primary expenses. Then you feel there is nothing called God, no justice. Just imagine a hot day in summer when you have to wear a manito, a scarf, and try to work. You can't even imagine the way we live here. You can't even imagine. No, you never can. What do you say to that? Living in a Western culture, we don't understand that. But that's my friend's daily life in Iran. I handed this blog out to several customers. I had other testimonials of my Iranian friends that I handed out. My mission is to make people aware of the life my friends endure in Iran, to speak out, to pray for them. See, my goal in all of this, I'm praying that this regime will be removed. I'm praying there will be a change. I want them to have a better life. I want my friends to have the freedom and the happiness that I have. I would encourage you to come to my Facebook page and see all of the postings I have about the book signing. I have about the things that happen in Iran. All you have to do is type in Randy L. Noble and come to my Facebook page. You can also see these videos up on YouTube just by typing in my name, Randy L. Noble. I encourage you to do that. I want to connect you with my friends in Iran, and I want to share my book with you on a PDF file. It's absolutely free. All you do is come to my Facebook page. If you haven't friend requested me, please do so, and I will connect with you and share with you the plight and the struggle of my friends in Iran. I want to end by just quoting the scripture from the Bible I had at the end of this blog after my friend shared all of the horrible things that happens to her. This is from Psalm 72:12. He will rescue the poor when they cry to him. He will help the oppressed who have no one to defend them. Psalm 72:12. I believe my God hears the cries of my friends in Iran. I believe he knows their situation, and I believe he will deliver them, that he will set them free one day, that he will bring salvation to them and deliverance from their situation. I really appreciate your time this evening and visiting with me like this. All I ask you to do is to come and visit my Facebook page and to connect with what's happening in Iran, and just make it your goal to pray. This wonderful little booklet, Iran 30, is a wonderful prayer guide that you can have and use the time to speak out and pray for my friends. The last thing I would say to you is to remember the cost of freedom is a very expensive cost. It can cost you your life. And this dear, beautiful girl, Netta Sultan, marched outside her home one day in the streets of Tehran to speak up for truth and freedom, and it cost her her life. As far as I can say to you, she is a light in the darkness of Iran, and we should pay attention to her example. It could cost us our life, but freedom, democracy, and truth is worth it all. I hope to see you on the next edition of The Cross in the Desert. God bless you. Have a good week. My name is Randy Noble, and I will see you on the next Cross in the Desert.